You're listening to episode 38 of A Whole New You podcast. On today's show, Laurie and Kim talk about some major life transitions. We discuss back to school, Kim's move to Indiana, and some new career ventures for Laurie and her health coaching practice. No matter what your season of life is, you'll definitely resonate with this discussion, as we all have periods of transition, change, and uncertainty in our lives. Welcome to A Whole New You podcast. I'm your co-host, Kim Maravich. I'm a registered nurse and author of the book 360 Health. I'm joined by my dear friend, Laurie Biddle, a health and wellness coach certified through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Our show exists to inspire and empower women to take charge of their health, with weekly tips and conversation about self-care, mindset, nutrition, fitness, and clean living. Please keep in mind that the material provided in this podcast is intended as general information only and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We're thrilled to have you here. Let's get to the show. Before we get to the episode, I would like to read a 5-star review that we received through iTunes. This comes from Eat with the Intention to Heal, and the title is Commitment. She writes, I'm really impressed with Kim and Laurie's commitment to sharing a wide variety of information to meet the needs of so many. Thank you so much for writing this 5-star review. We so appreciate when you leave us reviews because they help to boost our rankings in iTunes, and they also help people find our show who might not already know about it. So if you're listening right now, you can pause the show and head over to iTunes. You can subscribe there as well and leave us a rating and review. If you do, we'll be sure to read your review on a future episode. Without further ado, let's get to the show.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A Whole New You. Today, Kim and I are recording our first virtual session, and I'm staring at her beautiful face on my computer screen right now, which is kind of cool. Instead of sitting next to each other, I still feel like we're very much together, and I'm loving it. Technology is amazing. I got my fancy new headset on, so we're all matchy-matchy with our headsets. But yeah, this is, I'm finding much better and easier than the Apple earbuds. It's kind of a cool
It sounds good. It sounds good. And Laurie looks so cute. She got her hair really, really cut. How many inches did you get?
11 inches. 11 inches, which I donated. So you have to have at least 8. So I thought it would be about 8. But then when I told her the length I wanted it, she's like, that's more like 11. So that was kind of fun and exciting. They made a big deal about it at the salon. I had to get like all these pictures taken with the background. And
you look adorable.
Well, it's funny because I always thought my long hair made me look younger. I mean, it definitely made me feel younger just because high school Laurie had hair down to her waist, So I guess I just always felt like, I don't know, my hair is what keeps me young. But as I was like walking through the salon after chopping it all off and feeling a little unsure about it, it was like an emotional thing for me. I get so attached to my hair, but I loved that it was being donated and it was for a greater purpose. But at walking out, a couple people actually commented, that just took off like 20 years. And I'm like, really? Because I thought my hair kept me young. So that was good. It was a good experience. And actually today on this episode, we're talking a lot about, transitions and adjustments and changes. So 11 inches is certainly a big change. I can't fit my hair in a ponytail right now, so I'm adjusting to that. But it's also the fall season. The kids just got back to school, and all of us moms, this is transition time, facing a lot of adjustments, a lot of new stuff. New classrooms, new schedules, new classmates for the kids, new activities, a new season, new weather. We go to school in the morning with sweatshirts on and we get off the bus, the kids get off the bus and it's really hot.
Yeah.
So the weather's transitioning with us in this time. But no one has had a bigger transition this, fall season than my co-host, Kim. She has had so much change. And I know a lot of people have been asking, more about her experience and wanting her to share a little bit more about her move. And we are going to cover a lot of that today because, it's incorporated into what we're all going through with this change and, back to school. But her experiences has been really intense, and I haven't even had a chance to really connect with her a whole lot about it. So I'm excited to kind of hear about what's been going on with her, and she's going to share a lot of that with us today. And I'm really glad she's here and happy to see her face and excited to hear about what's going on with her.
I know, it's so nice to see your face. We're trying out Zoom, and we are hoping that this is a good recording platform, that our voices sound okay. We usually have used Zencaster, but we can't see each other. So we decided we want to look at each other and be able to
Another
talk.
transition. We're also transitioning systems. So it's
Yeah.
full of transitions.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, hopefully this is going to sound okay. But, as Laurie mentioned, a lot of people have been asking me to talk about my move. So we thought we would incorporate this into a podcast about transitions. And this is a good place for me to share my story. I'm going to try not to talk your ears off too much, but there's a lot, just our family has been going through a lot, which, is a transition in a physical move across the country. But with that comes, a lot of inward transition and sometimes anxiety. That last series we just had in our podcast was really beneficial. And I went back and re-listened to some of the episodes, but it has been very different for each of our family members. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, how it's affected each of our family members, but I haven't really ever told the story. And this is true. Laurie knows about, the whole reason behind the move and stuff, but she and I haven't really talked since we've been out here. So she's learning about this live at the same time the rest of you are. So just to start a little bit. So my husband worked for a company for 21 years, and they decided to do a massive downsizing, and they did a massive laid off over 40 people throughout the company, and cut the highest ranking basically in each region. And because my husband had been there for so long, his job was eliminated. And from what we hear, that company is pretty stressed now because of the massive downsizing, and the people who are still in there have so much on their plates. But it came as a shock to us, and it really rocked our world. It felt very defeating for my husband because he had given his heart and soul to the company, and just all of a sudden he was done. And what that meant for him was not just a loss of job, but also colleagues that he had known for so many years, and who were not just colleagues, but friends, and that he would talk to frequently. And he went from being on his phone and checking emails like all the time, and even on weekends, to like having nothing to do. And so that was it was kind of a hard thing for him. And interestingly and sadly, the same exact day that this layoff occurred, my husband's father went into the hospital. He had heart disease, and it had an implanted defibrillator and pacemaker, and just wasn't doing so well. And he had fallen and had gone into the hospital, and he basically never came home. He went from the hospital to a rehab facility and just wasn't improving, wasn't regaining strength. And sadly, he did pass away in April. So there was just a lot of, along with transition, there was a lot of sadness in our family. And just, with that comes a lot of uncertainty and, changes for his extended family too. His sister, who is not married, has lost both of her parents now. And so there's a lot of sadness for so many family members. So this winter wasn't great for us in the early spring. But then he was looking online. His job search became his full-time job. So he was searching and searching and searching, and he was trying to find something that was comparable. So he was in upper tier management, which is hard to find because, if you're just looking on like LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever the job sites are, a lot of those management positions are like entry level, and that just wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to help us financially. And it was really hard. And so he found this position, which was with basically a competitor company, and it was a regional management position, which is exactly what he was doing before. And he applied and went through many rounds of interviews, and was even flown to various parts of the country, to Texas, um, and and maybe one other place, and I can't quite remember, but it was a sure thing, and they knew that they wanted him to the position. They wanted the person to live in Indianapolis area, and so he started looking online, and then he got a call that said that they went with the other candidate, and we were like, what just happened? They were grooming him as though they were giving him this job, and we were house hunting. He had stopped looking for jobs because he thought that this was a for sure thing. And talk about depression. And he was just like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. He had a severance package that would last for like 5 months. We were coming kind of towards the end of it. And what were we going to do? And so that was another time of defeat. And one thing I wanted to point out was that this was really telling to me that I was actually sad too. And I didn't want to move. There was no part of me that wanted to move. But I think I had already in my brain thought that we were moving to Indianapolis. And when they went with the other candidate, I just felt like sort of like defeated too, and sad. And really, when I think about it, I think that was the Lord's way of preparing my heart and my mind for moving.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that before this winter. And I was like, as much as you didn't want it to happen, when it didn't happen, then when it actually, which I know you haven't got to this part of the story, but when it actually ended up, transpiring, you were like ready for it because it had been like taken away. So when it came back, you had a totally different perspective on it. It's kind of interesting how that happened.
I did. Yeah. And it was confusing. And it was just like, why would this happen? Like, why would they be grooming him like that and go with the other candidate? And what other candidate? We didn't even know there was one. But then, excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold, but, so I think it was like, maybe not even like a month later, maybe 3 weeks later or something. My husband had taken my son to karate, and he gets this call while he's there that they want to offer him the position. And he was like, that the other candidate fell through. And so he was like, yeah, I will take it. And so here we are, like, just talk about a roller coaster of emotions, like you go from, okay, we don't have a job, to here's the promise of a new job. Now you don't have that job. And now here's another job, and, the same job, and we're going to move now. And so there were some final steps, before they actually went ahead with the job offer. But after that point, it was just set in our brains that, we're going. And then I had months on my hand to prepare. And so there was a lot of preparation that occurs mentally. And I think, I was posting on social media for a long time that we were going to be moving, and I was, wrapping my brain around it. But I don't think the reality ever really hits you until you actually go through it. But I think all of this, God was preparing. He was preparing, like our family and our hearts, and the boys knew about it. And so when the time came for us to actually move, I think we were ready, and we were kind of like more than ready. It was just like enough of this waiting. So
yeah, I remember you being at that point, like, as much as you didn't want to go, you're like, it just needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
exactly.
Action kind of overwhelms fear sometimes. Like action will take the fear away, because the waiting and the anticipation, I think, sometimes is the hardest part.
So true.
You just got to do it.
Yeah, true. And it's just like, ripping off the Band-Aid. But I do think timing was perfect for that. And also, like, the way it all worked out, like, financially, we had like the severance package and healthcare. And then he got this job, and there was like 1 week of overlap. It was just because we were going to be worried. Like, do we have to find insurance for the kids? Like, what are we going to do? So are we going to have to borrow money? But it all worked out. So, so it was perfect. So just to talk to you a little bit about the house hunting part of it. So it was like, we knew we were going to be moving. So and then Jim had to jump right into training basically, but we scheduled 1 week in June to house hunt. And so he had made it also another full-time job to search on Zillow for houses. So we found like, the areas, and where we're living, we live in Noblesville, Indiana, which is north of Indianapolis. And this whole area is known for like great school districts. And this is the place that families go to, like the Fishers area, Noblesville, Carmel. Like, this is just known for being like, this is where you want to live in Indiana, to raise a family. So that was great. And we knew that we wanted to, try to end up there. And Rita Rogers, who was on our podcast, is, she lives in Illinois, but she had reached out to me and said, hey, I know a great realtor in the area. Do you want me to connect you? And so we took her up on it, and another huge blessing, because she connected us to Joel, and he scheduled that week to show us houses, and we were able to kind of like narrow down a list. We gave him like the criteria of the houses we wanted. He'd send us listings. And it went from like 180 down to, and like Jim, my husband, Jim, was just on, his phone and the computer every night looking for houses. So by the time we went out to Indiana in June, we had a list of like 21 houses, and we were able to see all of them during that week. So it was so great that we had that, connection. And so we started off like with 20, and like by the end of the week, we had it narrowed down to 4. And on the last day, really thinking we had our top 2, and then like, 2 that would be okay. And so we went to see those again. We really kind of narrowed it down. And it was funny because, excuse my cough, I had the house that I wanted, and my husband wanted the other house. So this is like our top 2. And I swear, like, I'm just looking for signs anywhere I can find them, And so we're in the other house, and the one that was like my first choice. And first of all, we walk up to the house, and there is a duck like nesting beside the front porch. And our realtor was like, yeah, that's going to come back every year, right? We're like, what? Like, it was literally on a nest right beside the steps. And my boys were like, wait, is that real? And they were so scared that this duck was there. Because in Indiana, it's so flat, and every neighborhood basically has like this huge pond, and usually with like a fountain, like a pump. And it's like, so the water can like run off into the ponds and rather than into people's basements. And so there are the geese everywhere. I guess it wasn't a duck. It was maybe that was a duck, but there are Canadian geese everywhere. So anyway, that was like a sign that was sort of weird. And then we're walking around in this house, and Jim falls, like not once, or maybe he fell once. And then my son Adam falls twice on these like really, I thought they were hardwood, but I guess they were laminate floors. And Jim was like, he's like, I was upstairs because they had this massive master closet and this ginormous master bathroom that was like to die for. That, of course, that's what I was loving. And he said he had gone through the closet, and he was like, all right, we're going to make an offer on this house. And he walked down the steps and fell. And he's like, nope, because we would have to replace all the floors. Everyone was falling. My mom was with us, and we're like holding on to her for dear life so she's not going to fall. And, just little signs like that.
Yeah, you can't live like that.
No. And he's like, and that's going to be like 20 grand to replace that. So anyway, it turned out this other house that he liked, which was his first choice, is the house that we went with. And I love it. And Laurie has seen pictures of it, and
you should. It's so adorable.
I know. I need to see. I went to go back into Zillow to try to save pictures of the house. I think Jim saved them, but it's like not there anymore because the house isn't, listed anymore. But the sellers of this house were really motivated to sell too. They had to get out, and so they dropped in price, and they met us. And actually, Laurie can see, I'm sitting in the media room, which is like the theater room. Somehow my husband, I would never have thought to do this, but my husband negotiated them to leave this media room as is. So we have 6 reclining chairs with cup holders, like this huge big screen TV, and there are doors that close. It's like soundproof. So I thought it would be a great place to record. But they left this here. Like, this was part of our package. So, I mean, we got that. And like the biggest selling point for my kids especially is this playroom that is in the basement. And they have a clubhouse built into the wall, like with a door, a little door that opens up. So an adult has to duck down. But there's like, they can go in there and play. And there's a loft, there's a ladder they climb, and there's a loft at the top. And Lori, I don't know, I probably haven't told you this, but my boys have been doing puppet shows in the loft. And so
how fun.
Isn't that fun? And so
I mean, that house under the steps, it's like a little cottage. It's like a kid's dream.
Yeah.
It is so fantastic. I mean, talk about motivating kids to move.
I know. And they love it. So my son's birthday is today. My son Nathan turned 6 today. And he got some puppets for his birthday because he wanted to get some new puppets, for his clubhouse. So
that's so cute.
Yeah. So we do love the house. And we had been looking in Cranberry to actually move to a different house with a flat yard, which if you are from the Pittsburgh area, it's so hard to find a yard that's flat because that's considered the North Hills. But we have a flat yard. Everybody around here has a flat yard because it's so flat. But we have a flat yard that's fenced in. We have a nice fire pit in the back, and it's just been a great house. So that transition has been good, and we're finally pretty much out of boxes. We have a few here and there, trying to find a home for everything. Not all of our furniture fit into the basement. So our morning room off the kitchen, which is supposed to be like an eating area, we were going to get a table and chairs, currently has a couch and a love seat in it because we couldn't fit them down the steps. So, our house is a little bit still in transition, but we're getting settled from there.
I think that's impressive that you're already that settled in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I mean, it was
Absolutely.
really overwhelming, but I was really determined to because I just wanted it to be normal. And I also needed to find stuff in the kitchen because we lived for probably 2 weeks with all the kitchen stuff out. And it was just eating fast food or getting takeout and I don't know, just stuff like that. So just wanted some normalcy there. So that's been good.
Now we'd like to take a minute to give a shout out to our show partners, Perfect Supplements and Amazon. Perfect Supplements is a family-owned and operated business that supports local farms. Their superfoods and supplements are non-GMO, third-party tested for purity, and contain no synthetic ingredients, colors, or flavors. They're also organic or wild harvested and fairly traded. Products range from collagen and bone broth powders to plant proteins, greens, desiccated liver, and adaptogenic herbs. Perfect also carries vitamins and supplements from other reputable sources like Just Thrive, Dr. Mercola, Gaia Herbs, Green Pastures, Garden of Life, and Prescript Assist. To check out their wide array of products, go to perfectsupplements.com/Kim. If you use coupon code KIM10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. This is a great way to get superfood nutrition while helping to support our podcast. And just as a disclaimer, it's not the intention of our podcast to provide specific medical advice, but rather to provide you with information to better understand the role of dietary supplements in health. We urge you to consult with a qualified health provider to discuss both the advantages and risks of using dietary supplements. Our other show partner, Amazon, is the largest online warehouse and carries just about everything you need. If you shop on Amazon, which is likely, you can support our show at the same time at no additional cost to you. Simply use our affiliate link to enter the site, then browse and buy, just as you normally would. A Whole New You podcast will make a small commission from your purchase, which helps to support production costs for the show. You can find a clickable Amazon link in the show notes for this episode. You can also go to the products page of our website, awholenewyouPodcast.com, to find the link. If you love our show and appreciate the free information you get each week, please consider buying from Perfect or using our affiliate link when making purchases on Amazon. Now let's get back to the show.
And then for the kids, we were talking about back to school in this episode too. My son Nathan started kindergarten, and the schools out here for kindergarten are full day, which is different than where we lived in Cranberry. He was just, he was in preschool last year. He went 3 days a week for 2.5 hours at a time. And now he goes every day, the whole day. And I told Lori before we started recording that he told me that he is in a 7-hour prison every day.
I'm sure he's not the only kid that feels that way as we head back to school.
it's long, for little ones, but he does well in school, and I think he's liking it. It's just a long day. But the schools out here started August 1st. He actually missed the first week and a half of school, which I felt was okay. That was another thing that was a big weight that was lifted from my shoulders. I was going to try to rush to get out here for the beginning of school, and we were going to live in temporary housing. And I just told my husband, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to move twice. I don't want to have half of our stuff in like an apartment or something, and just have to worry about getting movers twice. And he's only in kindergarten, and it's going to be okay if he misses the first part of school. And it was fine. And the school was so nice, which is another thing. My friend Erin calls it Hoosier hospitality, but people around here are so nice, like bend over backwards, so friendly, nice. Like I'll be walking in Target and people are just like, hi. I'm like, hi, like, do you think you know me or something? But they're just like so friendly. It's just
that's
so
great.
nice. And we went to tour Nathan's school the day before he started, and the principal, she was the vice principal, took an hour out of her day to show us around. She gave me her personal cell number. On his first day of school, she emailed me. She found him and took a picture of him smiling, like in his classroom, emailed it to me. And, it was just like, I could start crying. She was just like, I thought you would want to know that he's having a great day. And so, yeah, it's just been really good in that way. Just like, as hard as it is to transition to a new school, he's been doing fine. And just really am so like grateful for the teachers and the staff at his school. And I think it's going to be great. It's a huge school. There's like 800 kids in this elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah. There's 6 sections of kindergarten, and there's like 23 kids in his class. So it's really, really big. So, and then my son, Adam, as some of you know, who follow me on social media, he has some anxiety and some, behaviors that are hard. He's only 4 years old, but, he did not miss the beginning of school. He's in preschool through a Methodist school out here. And his started later. He's been having, a kind of a hard time. Last week, he was off the whole school week because he had a terrible ear infection. The doctor, in fact, said this was a very bad ear infection. And I felt bad because I didn't know that's what was happening at first. But he's on antibiotics now and is doing a lot better. But he had some regression this morning, and it's just hard to drop him off when he's just screaming and the teachers have to hold him back and stuff. But I do have to say, he goes, I think once we're settled and he can get into a routine, it'll be better. He goes from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. at this preschool. And this is another answer to prayer for me, because just with the struggles that he has had and the behaviors and the move has made it worse, but it was occurring last year too. And, and his teachers last year just said, you need help. And we've gone through, family therapy, which has been helpful with some tactics and techniques. And, but I really sincerely prayed. I prayed so hard that we could find something for him that was, if we had to move, that was more consistent, that was longer, because he needs the consistency, but I also need the break. And that might sound selfish, but like, I feel like I could be a better mom, when I can have a break too. And plus, my mom isn't out here, and she was our go-to babysitter. We haven't found a sitter yet. I think there may be some like neighborhood teenage girls, but that's not like enough, that if during the day, if I needed help or anything. So this has been really good. So he eats lunch at school, and his teacher is so patient, and they have this app that they communicate with. And so she'll send me pictures of him during the day. So, if you're listening, I would so appreciate your prayers, that he has a good school year. But I think that this has been a blessing, and hopefully it'll go well, and he will be able to adjust, and we will all just be good with this extended kind of school day.
And as we talked, so much of this episode's about transitions, but I always thought that was the hardest part for the little ones. Like, I know sometimes they weren't ready for like a full day, but transitions are hard for them. And when they're little, there's so many. It's like, some days you're in school, some days you're not. by the time you get into school and settled, you're leaving. So you go from one transition almost directly into the next transition.
Yeah.
And it's probably better for him, like you said, to go longer, to go like a few more days, just getting some more consistency instead of the constant transitions, because he's faced a lot of, I keep saying the word transition, but I mean, it is, that's what's happening. So
yeah, that's a very good point. And I do think
yeah.
that, and I think that's what was kind of happening last year is like, he would go every other day and then it was like, do I have school today? Oh, boo. Do I have school today? No. Yay. And he's like, it's just like this up and down constant roller coaster. And I just think he needed more, even though it's hard right now. So
yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. But one other thing I just wanted to mention was that, I had connected with someone on Instagram. I think we were tagged. We couldn't place it at first, but we were tagged in the same post. Someone tagged us as like, follow these accounts, like, and just listed some accounts. And so we had followed each other. And she posted, it was on August 1st, of her kids going to school. And I was like, wow, where we're moving, they start August 1st. And I said, where do you live? And she said, Noblesville, Indiana. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's exactly where we are moving. And so her name is Sarah Annis. So shout out to Sarah if you're listening. But Sarah has been, we've only seen each other once in person, but I mean, how kind to reach out to me. And then we corresponded. We actually, this is so ironic. Her daughter is in kindergarten and goes to the same school as my son.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. They're not in the same class, but they are at the same school. And I had to fill out this paperwork and I was like, I am like, so sorry to ask you this, but could you be my emergency contact? Because I don't have anybody like besides my husband. They wanted someone that wasn't family. And she was so nice about it. She was like, oh, sure. I know how it is. And she also invited me to a MOPS group, which is like moms of preschoolers. And I had never been before. And I thought, you know what I need to join something because I need to meet people. I don't know anybody. I'm still using GPS to get around everywhere. I don't even know where anything is. And so we've only met once. So our second meeting is tomorrow, but like, I already feel like, this is another answer to prayer, just because I had prayed that I would, be able to, I'm so sorry. I'm like starting to tear up here, Laurie, but, just like be able to meet some, I don't know, like Christian women or, women who could help me with the transition, who would be able to, pray for me and I for them, and just be able just to meet some friends basically, And so if you guys don't know what MOPS is, it's a national organization, but it's a Christian based organization. Most of them meet in churches. It really is moms of preschoolers. I do have a preschooler, but they do have kids that, that you can bring your kids and drop them off there, and they have like a child care. But I go when my son's at preschool, so he hasn't even met these other kids. But I think there are like 80 women in this group, and they divide us into tables. And so at my table, I think there might be 8 of us. But Sarah is at my table, and I made sure to include her on when I was registering, just because I wanted to get to know her a little bit. But there's like, there's a leader, and then there's like a seasoned mom who has been through this before at each table, and she has like grown kids. But it's funny because she's 49 and I'm 44, and I have a preschooler and her kids are like in their 20s.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an old mom, but
I love that you found this group. That makes me so happy. Yeah.
So anyway, we haven't, we've only met once. We meet tomorrow, but they already have like a night out plan, which is like next week, I think. And it's at Top Golf, and I do not know how to golf whatsoever, but there was another.
That's what's going to make it fun.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. There was
going to
another
get
girl
out of your comfort zone, which you've been out of your comfort zone in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Another mom was like, do we have to golf? But it'll just be fun, like whatever. But just some place to go and hang out. And I think they do play dates here and there too. So I'm just really thankful to have met some people, and I hope to get to know them better. And so, yeah, so that's it. Like, that's the transition in a nutshell. We have, we're starting to get settled. We're still very much in transition. We're still trying to find our way.
I think probably one of the hardest things for me right now is just that Jim is still traveling and that he will continue to travel every week. And that's a little bit hard, just knowing that I am solely responsible. We don't have any family in the area, which is another reason I just wanted to meet a support system. We're still trying to find a church. But I think all of those things are in the works, and it'll all work out. I'm just really grateful that we can still do the podcast and that I can still see Laurie through here. My boys will have some big vacations coming up. They have, they're almost going like year round schooling here, but they have like 2 weeks off in October and 2 weeks spring break. So we'll be back in Pittsburgh, and I plan to meet up with Laurie when we're there. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of it. Just like, the life lessons I've learned is just that life comes in seasons. And this is kind of my season right now to sort of concentrate on my family, to embrace the uncertainty, because there's a lot of it. I can't be in control. This is really tested for a control freak like myself, who wants to like, not necessarily be in charge, but like know what's coming and be prepared. It's kind of hard. But it's really testing my faith and making sure that I am just relying on God through all of this, because I couldn't do it without God and my faith. So that's my big story, Laurie. And I know that
It's a big story. It is a big story.
Yeah, it really is. So my next goal is to try to do some self-care, because I haven't done any. And I know that we talk about self-care a lot on this podcast. We've been really kind of like live or die right now. So that has definitely gone on the back burner, but I'm hoping once we're all settled, then I'm going to be able to start exercising again. Looking at my toes that look gnarly right now because I need a pedicure. I just have some time.
Don't worry. We're almost out of sandals. Who cares?
I know, right? Shove those babies in some boots.
That's right. You got put some socks on. You're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm really glad that you bring that up, Kim, because it is something I wanted to mention today. I mean, your situation's totally extreme, but I'm sure there's others listening too that have gone through a move. I mean, that's the time a lot of people with school-age children do it, right? They go through the summer so that they can be settled and started in a new school. So I'm sure a lot of people are relating, to your story. But it is more of an extreme version. Yeah. But all of us, heading back into the grind here in the fall, we got to be careful not to just get on that hamster wheel. Like, it takes a lot more effort this time of year, especially to fold in some self-care and find those moments for ourselves. And we have to remember that, because this is the test right here. I feel like definitely. So I know, like, my kids went back to school last week, and it was just school. So they were getting familiar with their new teachers and finding their way. Well, actually, neither of them went to a new school this year. So I guess we have that in our corner. They're both the oldest in their particular school. So they're big man on campus this year. So that I'm grateful for that, because, the years in a new building and finding their way around, which they will both be in next year. So that'll be, something they didn't have to worry about this year, but I'm expecting it for next. But yeah, just all the newness, we've experienced this past week. But now, coming off of the Labor Day holiday, we are heading into, these 4 days of school all day. My older daughter gets up at 5:15. So that's a tough, time to start your day. And then, like, tomorrow she'll get up at 5:15, have school all day, and then her dance starts. We start to fold in the activities this week, the evening activities. So she won't even be home from dance until 9:00, and
that's a lot.
Probably have some homework. And, it's just, again, back to the grind and trying to support them. Yeah. Cause it's, what our kids go through and what's put on them is a lot too. But yeah, this is that week where we're in the second round of adjustments, but it comes in pieces, which I guess we should be grateful for. A lot of times the activities don't start that first week. So they kind of get used to that. And then this week they'll be exhausted by the end of the week. But then the next week, it's like game on. Like, we've got this down. We know our routine. Like you said, it's getting settled. Yeah. It's just, we're in the getting settled transition phase right now. So we're not quite there yet. We've got some getting settled to do, but it'll happen.
You will
And
get there.
yeah, it'll happen for all of us. We'll get in the routine, and then it just becomes your new normal.
Yes, exactly.
But
And how about you, Laurie? You've had
yeah,
some
so
changes.
yeah, so another thing we all hear, back to school, back to you, right? Which
Mhm.
this is especially for entrepreneurs or moms who are working at home. Summers are really challenging
They
trying
are.
to keep your kids from not like being lumps on the couch all day, which eventually, I mean, I do let them do that for a while at the beginning of the summer because I feel like they need to decompress.
Yeah.
But they can't do that for 3 months. So, so it's trying to find a balance of keeping them, somewhat occupied, like having those bonding moments, which I wouldn't trade for anything. I had such wonderful quality time with my girls this summer and I loved every minute of it. But it's really challenging to find those pockets of time to work and to find quiet and to just be able to concentrate. Like the concentration thing's really hard when there's just complete chaos going on around you. So, I'm excited about the back to school because I feel like I can dive back into work and be a little bit more focused. I know the work stuff's been challenging for you as well. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that too, Kim.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to do any. So I get it. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
same boat as you in the summertime, but
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, last week, was in the same boat as my kids trying to find my footing because I accepted a position at Be Balanced, which some of you will remember. I interviewed Kate, who's the owner of the Be Balanced in Wexford. And, she talked a lot about balancing hormones naturally and just taking the holistic approach. Many of you know I am an integrative health coach. So like that whole holistic approach and involving everything in your weight loss and your balancing of hormones, it's not just one thing. It's kind of all the things together, getting all the cylinders firing. And that is what they're doing at their centers. And this location in Wexford is booming. Like they have just back-to-back appointments. It's been so well received. They've only been open since the spring. So I came home from vacation with a message waiting for me from the owner of Be Balanced and offered me a position part-time to come and help them out because I'm already doing a lot of what they're doing at their centers. And for me, it's just wonderful hands-on experience. And, I started last week. So the girls were back to school. Mommy had her first day of work outfit and they had their first day of school outfit. And we all just kind of headed out into our newness. And, it was good again, because it helped me relate to them because, last week was a bit of a humbling experience for me being the new guy. Before this, I was in the same position for 15 years in corporate. Right. And, then kind of went out on my own. So this is a new experience for me, but I like getting out of my comfort zone and I welcome that. And I love the challenge. I'm learning so much. I've learned so much. They've put me through their awesome training program and just the hands-on experience I had with different women, even just last week. I'm learning and growing and it's really exciting stuff, but still a little unnerving and trying to find my footing. And I'm excited for it to all come together, but it's a work in progress. And I'm also, now that the girls are in school and I'm starting to get my, just last week, we kind of got the schedule at Be Balanced ironed out. And like I said, it's just part-time. So I'm continuing to pursue, some initiatives with Simply Empowered that I've been wanting to do as well. And of course, Kim and I love doing the podcast. So all those things are starting up here in the fall. I'm kind of getting back into it and looking forward to it. So it feels good to get back to work.
Yeah. And I'm so happy for you. And honestly, I think you're such an asset to Be Balanced for sure because of your background, with health coaching and how you've helped other people. You've helped people with weight loss. And I think, you and I are at like a great age for that too, because I know that they do like hormone balancing a lot.
And a lot of stress management is a huge thing for them, because, this overproduction of cortisol that we've all been doing for all these years and like blew out our adrenals in our 30s, pretty much most of us.
Yeah.
So, it's not as easy as calories in, calories out, watching what you eat, doing a little exercise. Like as we age, it gets harder. So yeah, they certainly, if you remember from the interview and in that episode, Kate talked a lot about what they're doing there. And it's really, the basics are helping women manage their stress, because, and Kim's talked about her personal experience with this in the past too, that, when your stress levels are high and your cortisol is out of whack, it's throwing all of your hormones off, and it's affecting so many things, and especially weight loss. So once you kind of get to the root of this, which is the whole, the holistic way, right? Getting to the root of the problem. And that's what we're addressing there. And it's been really fun.
I love it. And I've been using the B Balance creams too, the progesterone and the Soothe Stress. And I do really feel like it helps so much. And Laurie's so right in that, you think about, weight loss and calories in, calories out, or just eat the right foods. And that is true to an extent as far as eating more nutrient dense whole foods. But there's something about when you're in your 40s, you finally understand that hormones do play a huge role. You just can't fight the system all the time. It's bound to occur. That's why women get that little belly, and just their hormones are shifting. And I didn't understand that. I thought I knew, in my 30s even, but excuse me, guys. But it really does change when you're in your 40s. And so this is such a valuable service to people that you're offering. And I've noticed such a big difference with me. Even when I use the progesterone cream, I feel so much less bloated, and it's been really helping. So I am super excited for this endeavor for you. And
just watching these people get these results and speaking with these women, they're such warriors. They're so dedicated, and they are just so ready to kind of go on this journey, and it's just such a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And offering your wisdom to it. And so I think, both of us have gone through so much transition, but we're thankful that we still have the podcast and that we can continue to do that. And Laurie and I had a brainstorm session before we recorded today. So we have some good things lined up that are coming up, and, we're trying to figure out good times for us to record. And I think we've kind of narrowed that down too. So, we're hoping that both of our lives will start to flow smoothly, and that this transition period will be just that it was just a transition, from one period of stabilization to another, and that, it'll all work out, and things always do work out. It's just kind of when you're in the thick of it, it's scary sometimes.
Yep. I was just going to say that we hope that for all of you as well, that you're off to a good start with the school year, and, getting settled in your new schedules, and I also want to say that we're all here to support you, Kim, and we are praying for you, and we are backing you, and you got this.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm so thankful for your friendship, Laurie. And I'm so thankful for our community here.
Right back at you.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody, and hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. That's it for today. For more from Kim, you can go to kimmaravich.com. For more from Laurie, go to simplympoweredllc.com. We're always open to listener questions or suggestions for the show. You can email those to contact@awholenewyoupodcast.com. We'd also love it if you joined our Facebook community and followed us on Instagram. Just search for A Whole New You Podcast. And lastly, if you'd be so kind as to leave us a rating and review in iTunes, we would really appreciate that, so more people can find our show and join our community. We'll see you next week.